Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go for a ride?
Sure, Ken.
Jump in.
Row 18, plot 20.
Welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim, and I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I accidentally watched Barbie, and I don't even know what is going on in my life anymore. The synopsis of this adventure comedy fantasy film is that Barbie is suffering a crisis that leads her to question her world and her existence. And I'm like, yeah, that's like my fucking life every day, it feels like.
Do you guys ever think about dying? I don't know why I just said that.
And I didn't have any interest in seeing this movie. I'm trying to scroll to the actual release date, when this released. In July. This released way back in July of 2023. And I had zero interest for it. And Oppenheimer, I know there was like the big stuff going on. And it had nothing to do with like going to the theaters. It wasn't a movie. I do horror films for the most part. But I'll tell you what, ever since I've seen Barbie, I have stopped drinking. I don't use tobacco anymore. I'm not wearing black anymore. I have like these muscle spasms that in my face, but people are saying that that's smiling, and I'm being kinder to people, except that HCF paranormal fuckface, he's still a douche. Dr. Oddity sucks. But otherwise, I'm being like kinder to people. So anyways, this was directed by Greta Gerwig, written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. And there are a lot of other people in this. Kate McKinnon turns out a really spectacular, funny role. There were a lot of people in this that I didn't know were in it, because again, like when this was coming out back in July or whatever else, I didn't know John Cena was in this as a Ken. Simu Liu, who is Shang-Chi in the Ten Rings Marvel movies, he's in this as a Ken. It just really, there's so much going on. But so jokes aside, this movie is actually really good. I literally went into this movie just to watch the opening. I had some time to spare. And I just wanted to just randomly watch the opening sequence. And honestly, the whole opening kind of got me sucked into the story. Will Ferrell is in this too. So if you're a Will Ferrell fan, you get some silly Will Ferrell stuff toward like the third act. If you're not a Will Ferrell fan, it definitely doesn't take away from the movie. It is his kind of weird comedy that some people either love or hate. I like it. Like, I'm not a big comedy movie guy, but I do like Will Ferrell. This movie is so good on its own that I think that they could have even not had Will Ferrell in it. I think that was kind of a marketing thing maybe at the time when they were writing this. But there's a lot of different layers to this movie. So I know my review is coming late, and I honestly wasn't even going to do a review, but I was talking about this movie with my son, who it turns out has seen this 3 times because he loves this. Him and his boyfriend have watched this 3 times because of how much they love this movie. And he was just like laughing at me that I was struggling accepting that I liked this movie, because now I have to add it to my Clueless, Mean Girls, and Pitch Perfect grouping of movies that are not horror, but I tend to find that these are like probably the most rewatchable non-horror movies. Like Barbie, I will rewatch again. But again, so there's a lot of different layers to this. It was not what I expected going into it. So we have Barbie, played by Margot Robbie, who's just fantastic, and I love her as Harley Quinn. I'm kind of glad that DC Universe is kind of shifting gears, so we'll get a different Harley Quinn, but I appreciated Margot Robbie as that. I know she's done other dramatic roles, and this is kind of like that wedge in between, like a real straight dramatic role and a comedic role, but she plays Barbie straight. It's the acting term. Like, she's playing it not campy and not comedy, but even though there's funny moments, but there's also some extremely heart-touching moments in this movie with Barbie's story. And we have Ryan Gosling, who I'm going to piss off a lot of people. I don't like. I can't name probably 3 movies I've seen him in, and I just have never been drawn to him. But he even does some really fun stuff in this movie. And there's a whole Ken story. And when I say Ken, like, it's the Kens, because there's all the Kens and there's all the Barbies. They have 2 different perspectives at a certain point in the movie, because the movie is straightforward POV of Barbie. And then things start to shift a little bit. And then kind of the revelation is that there's the real world. And so you think it's going to kind of go that route, like maybe Toy Story or something like that, where, there's going to be some in real world hijinks, but they're going to look like toys or whatever. But it just really blew my expectations, because it doesn't do a lot of the things that I thought it was going to do. And that kind of kept me from seeing the movie. It's getting a lot of high reviews, and I know that my review is really late. Like I said, this came out in July, and because my son was like, you have to do a review for it. So I guess the message is, I shouldn't be ashamed that I saw the Barbie movie, but nobody better force me to watch Oppenheimer, because I'm not interested in that movie. I don't know why my son is suggesting it, because one of the 3 times that he and his boyfriend saw it, they did the Barbenheimer twofer whatever deal, and I don't want to. I already know how Oppenheimer, ends. Like, I don't need to see a movie on that. I know it's got good acting and all that stuff, but whatever. Anyways, the point is, go see Barbie. It's still in theaters. I mean, we have these budget theaters that, like, once the movies do their full run, they'll go to like the second level down movie theaters that are just only like $4 Tuesdays or $5 regular. You don't get to do the reserve seating. But typically, like, the popcorn prices and soda prices are actually lower too. But if you go when school's not in, you're going to be stuck in a theater with a bunch of single moms with 7 kids each, and they're screaming all over the place. So don't do that. Like, go to the first showing when school is still in. Never go on a Saturday. So Barbie suffers a crisis that leads her to question her world and her existence. I think all of us can relate to that. I know I can. This movie touched a couple of different emotions that I wasn't expecting. This movie goes in directions that I don't think you're going to expect if you haven't seen this. There are relationship issues between boyfriend, girlfriend, a group of boys, group of girls, the society forcing stereotypes at one time, and then how corporate tries to key in on exploring, all walks of life to try to capitalize on that. So it's like an interesting look at a Mattel movie kind of exposing themselves in a way for trying to capitalize on different, trying to be like as PC, because it's touchy when people want to talk about like gender neutral or gender forcing, or what's the boy color, what's girl color. And this movie kind of exposes themselves as being like in the old days like that, and then they're still kind of like that, and then there's the whole Barbie world perception of what the real world is and what Barbie does for the real world. So when she goes into the real world, she has this expectation level that is shattered when she gets there, because it's not like what her packaging and what her thoughts are as a Barbie. Her impact on the world isn't what she thinks it is when she goes into the real world. So that creates like this crisis, this existential crisis about her existence. So that's where that comes from. Anyways, this is going on way too long. Go get your rollerblades, get to the beach, get a rowboat. I'm going to Barbie Land. Hitch a ride with me if you want to. Get on the back of my pink scooter, and we're going to go to Barbie Land. I'm not coming back. And until next time, thanks for watching. Now It's Dark. Yes, this was probably the only non-horror movie review for 2024.
Good night, Barbies. I'm definitely not thinking about death anymore.